Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, Yeukai Kechidori.
Hi guys, welcome to another special episode, and today we are talking all things branding. Now you're probably wondering, why another training or another course or even another interview on branding? The truth of the matter is, if you don't get this right, you could be leaving a lot of money on the table. So today I've got a very special guest, Danielle Garofalo. I hope I got that right, Danielle.
You got it right. I appreciate it.
With an amazing story, how she has helped some of the amazing business owners today. In fact, I'll let her tell you the story, generate awareness and even generate more business into their business using her strategies. So if you want to know how best to do your branding today, you are in for a treat because you're going to learn exactly what you need to do right now. Danielle, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
Yeukai, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today.
Incredible. I know you've got a busy schedule, but we appreciate you coming to share your nuggets with our listeners here. Now, for those like me who are just coming to know you for the first time, tell us your story, how you ended up doing what you're doing today.
I have a really long story of how I got here, but I'm going to shorten it for you and make it quick. I started my career off as an intern at Disney, and I feel like during that time when I was studying sort of marketing from Disney executives, it really gave me a good foundation for everything I've done in my career, from sales to guiding teams to one-on-one with CEOs. I feel like the foundation of everything that I have done, was built at Disney. And so that is stuff, still things I go back to today. From Disney, I went into sales at an IBM affiliate. And that was certainly interesting. And from there, it sort of snowballed into social media marketing and all of, digital media and different online strategies. And that I realized at the time that the only industry that was really sort of lagging behind was real estate. And in New York, they really didn't, every time I knocked on the door to say, hey, I think you should build a profile on social media and, come together with a social strategy, everyone was like, hey, you know what? This is a phase. This is a fad. This is going away, and there's the door. And then when everyone decided that they needed it, it was funny because people remembered the person who had mentioned that Facebook might be important someday. So, I started consulting and I landed at a small boutique firm and doing, more luxury properties in a specific area of Manhattan. And now I've been at Core Real Estate for the last, 2.5 years. And it's just been incredible. We do everything from new development to resales to branding. I mean, we really kind of run the gamut in real estate and marketing. So, like I said, it's not something that I planned when I was at Disney, that someday I would end up doing branding for CEOs and then at the same time, new development and digital marketing. But, best laid plans.
There you go. One of the stories that you shared with me earlier on is how you helped Sean with the marketing. Talk to us about that very briefly.
Yeah, so I came to Core and I felt really lucky because my CEO is one of the most recognizable people in real estate because he was the first person to ever go on TV for real estate. So Selling New York, Sean Usher, the CEO, he was all over HGTV for years and years. And then, he kind of pivoted into new development. I came on board and I said to him, I feel... with now real estate is all over sort of every network. And Sean never went down that road of, I'll say, more entertainment. It was always about the business. So, he wasn't on TV anymore. And what we did was we sort of made this, real niche for him in, he now has a podcast, he has a newsletter, his Instagram is always filled with stuff about new development, and people flock to him, because of this strategy that all of us sat down and put together. So it was exciting to kind of see, led by, a really dynamic personality, my CEO. And when you have that to work with, it makes life, I think, a little easier. But yeah, that has been exciting. So, I mean, within a couple of months, his podcast is one of the top 200 in business on Spotify, and it just keeps sort of exploding from there. And, we have a bunch of different touch points where consumers and clients and can see Sean and sort of understand this brand wherever they are, whether it's email or social media or podcasting. So that's been truly exciting to see, not only the online marketing and the response from that, but the business that's come from that is exciting too. So
yes, in fact, generated over $5 billion in transaction. Am I right from the profile?
Yeah, it would be, with the new development projects that are in the works. Yeah.
Yes. So, those are massive, massive figures there. And also considering that he went from 800 followers to 32,000 followers and to over 30,000 subscribers using these same strategies you're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, the same strategies. And I think, I hope is that people didn't tune out when I said that, I started with someone who already had an existing, kind of network and audience. You can do these things from scratch too. So don't tune out. don't tune out. You think you're starting from nothing yet. We can help you build. So.
Yes. Yeah. Well, one of the things I like about you is you not only do it for one person. You've been traveling even to Toronto, sharing some of the strategies that you are using, and people are finding enormous value. And you are in the process of creating a course so that those who want to learn to do this for themselves, they can tap into that, right?
Yes, let me tell you something. I learned from you more than you know. I think I think that the exciting part about being in my role at Core is that my bosses are not like, hey, look, you're ours and we're not going to share your knowledge and we're not going to whatever. They allow me to go and speak everywhere and consult with other firms. So I really, I take any opportunity that comes my way. Like I said, Tweetstock in Toronto, Tom Ferry Summit last year and the year before, talking about Instagram and all those things. So whatever pops up, I'm always eager to, jump.
Awesome. Well, let's dive in straight into the subject of branding. Suppose, Daniela, you're speaking to a business owner who's been in business for the last 5 years, but their branding is not on spot, so to speak. What would you advise them to do? Rather than to say, rush, correct your logo, where do you start?
So, you know what? I often steer clear of anything that is, logo design until I understand who the person or the business is. And I think what most people do that is a huge mistake is kind of trying to be everything. They are like, oh, but if I say that I'm only, I'll use a real estate example. If I say that I'm only a townhouse broker, well, then people won't come to me if they have a penthouse or, a larger building or commercial. But really, by saying you're a jack of all trades, almost leaves people not knowing where to start. So with any business, it's kind of defining really well who you are and what you do. And once people know that you're an expert in something, they'll come to you, and that opens up a wide variety of conversations that can happen after that.
Amazing. Still on that, what are some of the misconceptions around branding that you've had to explain or clarify to business owners that you've interacted with?
Yeah, so I think the number one thing is that when people come to me and they're like, their brand is their logo. It's not. Brand is what, the feeling that people have about your company when you're not in the room, when they're talking about you, that's what your brand is. And your logo is how they identify it, but your brand is what people are thinking about you when you're not there. So
Yes.
that's kind of what that's a misconception that people have, and they're like, my brand is off, and I'm like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, well, look at this, the color is off. I'm like, that's not the brand, that's the logo. So that's the most that's by far the biggest misconception that people have.
Awesome. So how do you help somebody who is at that state to move from there to actually begin to create a lasting brand, or a brand that actually means something to people?
So I think what we do is we look at sort of what has worked, and you start from there.
Right.
I think another thing that it's surprising that a lot of people don't do is pay attention to the analytics of the ads that they're putting out, the content that they're putting out. I'm not saying every single thing has to be driven by data. Some things are intuitive, and you connect with people that way, but data will tell you what people are interested in and what they're not interested in. So you might think you are one thing, and then all of the data tells you that people are actually really enjoying another thing. So starting from the beginning, we find out where if it's sales. Okay, where are your sales coming from? What have been your sales? Where have your last 5 sales come from? I mean, I think it's going through and seeing the things that work, and then making the language sort of work around that.
Awesome, incredible.
I told you my job was exciting. A lot of fun.
While you're saying that, I'm thinking, what could somebody be thinking about that? How can they correct the error? Say they have not got it right the first time. How can they get back on track?
Well, if we're talking about social media, the great thing is, and I'll use Instagram as an example, all it takes is 9 pictures and everybody's forgotten stuff already. Really, it takes almost nothing to start over again. The only thing is that whatever you do, if you start over, be consistent with it, and people will adjust. But the thing is to not be afraid to start over. And also, there is a reason why there's a delete button. You can delete things. There's nothing against a problem with saying, this didn't work for me, I'm going to delete it. So that's another thing. There's all these, I feel like, when I sit down with people, a lot of times it's giving them permission to do the things that they really want to do because they're so nervous and they don't want to make a mistake. But
yes.
Yeah, if you want to start over, you can do it. And in 9 pictures on Instagram, it'll all be a memory.
Yeah, amazing. I did not know that only 9 pictures there, you could start over again.
No, when you look at the scroll and you see 9 pictures down. So if you have content for 9 days and you want to start all over, there are some photos that you wanted to delete, great. Some pictures you like, great. 9 days, 9 pictures. And on Instagram, at least, you're already done. And on Facebook, whatever pops up next, you're done. So there's I know things last forever technically on social media, but memories are very, they're very short. They're very short.
Brilliant. Okay, let's talk to somebody who doesn't even have any branding in place. Let's take them through the process, what they need to do first, then second, third, and then finish off with maybe one last thing that they need to do to get them starting at the right firm.
So the first thing is to realize that you don't have to be everywhere. I think a big mistake that everybody makes is kind of spreading themselves too thin and saying, okay, well, you know what? TikTok's really popular now, so I'm going to be on TikTok, then Instagram, and I'm going to start Instagram Reels and Stories, and then I'll be on Facebook and I'll do ads there, and then maybe I should go on Pinterest. And it's like, whoa. Find out where your network is first.
Right.
See where your network is first. And then it's all right to go and just start on one. If your network is on Twitter, by all means, go be the best Twitter account anyone has ever seen in your industry. But don't half the time be on Twitter and some of the time be on Instagram if just so that you could say you have it. That doesn't make sense. So when you're starting off, find out where your network is. First of all, feel okay with the fact that you're just going to do 1 or 2 networks and be the best you possibly can on those 2. You can always expand, but kind of crushing it on 1 or 2 networks is great. It's better to be the best at something than just okay a bunch of different places. So that's really something that makes people really nervous sometimes. They're like, oh my God, but everybody's on TikTok. And it's like, dude, there's no real estate people on TikTok. I mean, and there's no clients that are buying on TikTok. So take a deep breath, build out something where your network is that's really, really good. And then in a couple of months, TikTok's still going to be there. Well, maybe not in America, but TikTok's still going to be there. And you never know. You can go from there.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. You make it so simple and you make it relatable, because I've been asked the same question. Well, this whole thing takes a lot of time. Now, when you explain it like this, if you focus on one thing, it's not going to take a lot of time because you're a business owner. You've got a lot of things going on. So you don't want to be sitting around on all of these at the same time.
Yeah, and you know what a lot of people do, which, they put a lot on themselves where it's like, well, I don't have 10,000 followers in a month, so I must be doing it wrong. Well, you know what? If someone over here, if person A has 10,000 followers and they've bought them, you don't know if they've bought bots or whatever they are just to pad the numbers. So if someone over here is with 10,000 followers and they're bots, they don't engage, and you over here have 300 followers and they're all real people and they're all engaging, who's better? The person who has 300 who's going to do the sale. And you know what? That's not sexy. It's sexy to have like 100,000 followers, 500,000 followers. I'll tell you, it's really amazing to see sometimes the people who have, 500, 1,000 followers, the engagement that they have on those networks, it's much better than the larger numbers in a lot of the cases. So yeah, it certainly can take you time to build up to those big numbers. But you'll miss out on the point if that's all you're going for is numbers. And if you're not going for the engagement from the network, you'll totally miss out.
Outstanding. Now, suppose we've got this whole first thing covered. What would be the next thing to focus on?
What is the next thing to focus on? That's a good question. Tell me. There's so much that I can, I guess.
Maybe the content, the quality of content, maybe.
Let's go. But I have a lot to say about that. So a couple of things about content.
Yeah.
A lot of times, I would say most of the time, people will say, it's all in the moment. It's all whatever. Listen, there are certain, pieces of content that are wonderful and they're spontaneous, and you should always make room in your content calendar for spontaneous, like in the moment content. But the majority of it, for it to work, has to be well planned out. It has to only look spontaneous. So for any strategy to work, number one, you should always set out with a content calendar. And this also takes kind of the anxiety out of putting together content and social media as well. Because once you look at a month in front of you, so 30 days, you take, blank boxes in 30 days. Okay, great. So every Monday you decide to post, say a new listing. And every Thursday is a throwback, and that's travel and all of it. That's 8 days of content that you've already got done. And then you start looking and you're saying, okay, well, on this date, I know I have, an event. On this date, I know, I have a closing, or, whatever it may be, whatever industry it is, you'll start to see how many things you can plan out without taking a ton of time to do it. You'll just know that, let me put a note into my calendar, make sure I take a picture at this event, boom, done. That's another day gone. And pretty soon, before you know it, you have all of this content. And that is what I think gives people more confidence, taking away that question of like, well, what am I going to post?
Yes. Yeah.
Down and start planning it out. And really, there's no, you have to do this for the day that you've chosen to do a throwback. But it's nice to know that that's already planned out, and say Thursday something happened, like you won the lottery. You want to put that in there? Great. But, so you're leaving room for spontaneous content at the same time that you're planning it out. It helps you stay within your strategy. It helps you also, again, reinforce your brand. So as far as content goes, I would put together a calendar. The most successful strategies are all laid out on a calendar. So
wow,
that's important for content.
And then you just be consistent, following through to make sure that you are there, turning up.
And then all of a sudden, these things will start start, second nature to you. Oh yeah, you know what? I have to post here today. I have to do it just will start being easier and easier. And again, you'll start to think in terms of your brand, without even realizing it. So that's where I think content can be made easy.
One of the things I believe in is having the right mindset to follow through in whatever you start working on. In your opinion, what is the right mindset for people who end up with great branding for their company or even personal branding?
So I think that the best people I've ever worked with are people who are willing to say, I know I need this and I'm just going to do it. The people who I've sat down with who are like, do I really have to? Does this work? And they have this mindset of like, it's never going to work and it's never whatever. And they're never going to be this person or that person. They're going into it kind of already defeated. And I think that if you're open to say, okay, I know I need this, let me figure out how to do it in the way that works around my schedule and sort of puts out all the things that I want to put out, those people are always successful.
Amazing.
Just like a simple can-do attitude, but it does go. I know that sounds a little cheesy, but it does go a long way.
Okay, just moving on, maybe to the time frame. Someone starts saying, "Okay, I'm ready to get this going." In your experience, what sort of time frame can they expect? I know it's different from one person to another, but for them to begin to see the return on their investment in building this one big thing, what time frame would you say?
So it totally depends. So I was talking with a broker at my firm. I'll use her as an example. And she came to me and she had, so she has something like I'm pulling here. She has something like 300 and something followers.
Yes.
And she said to me, she loves to cook. I mean, some of the things that she cooks, I could eat the phone. It's just unbelievable how delicious these recipes look. So she makes these amazing things. And then she wants to talk about real estate. So I said to her, look, here's what you should do to kind of turn this into a 1, 2, 3 step level. And we sat down and she had a bunch of miscellaneous posts of recipes and real estate and stuff like that. So I said to her, okay, here's what we do. Do all of your previews that you're doing for a new development or, a listing for your client. But every Wednesday and every Thursday, I want you to do a connected post. So every Wednesday, you're going to post a kitchen. You could post it from one of the listings that our firm has, a listing that's in, our global network. But tell people that this kitchen has inspired you to cook something and you're going to cook it the next day. And then the next day, you're going to post that recipe. She did. She has been doing this. The 1-2, Wednesday, Thursday, kitchen inspiration to a recipe. And in 3 weeks of doing that, we used all the relevant hashtags and all of, hashtags with her recipes. Birdseye, which is a huge frozen food company in the US, is now sponsoring her posts.
Wow.
So can I promise that it will happen for everyone? Absolutely not. But it's a great example of, I really don't think she has more than 400 or 500 followers to date, that brands are going all in on what they call micro-influencers, which is influencers who have less than 30,000 followers. They're going all in on that because their engagement is much higher than these mega influencers who have 500,000 followers or more. Really, it's exciting to know that even with like I said, a couple of hundred followers, there are still people paying attention to the hashtags, and there are still brands who want to kind of work with you. So and that takes almost no time at all, a couple months to get yourself in a couple of hundred followers. It's with regular content and consistent branding, there's, there's always going to be people interested.
Awesome. Absolutely outstanding. Well, for those who wants to carry on working with you, Daniela, where can we send them? Where can they find you?
So you can sign up for my future course at DanielleGarofalo.com. Shoot me your email there. Or if you'd like on Instagram, I'm also Danielle Garofalo there. Every Friday, I open up my Instagram stories to any person who wants to ask me any marketing, branding question. I answer them out there for everybody to see. And so it's sort of like it's sort of like class on Friday. So I leave them up all day Friday, and then Saturday morning I answer them. And it's some of the questions that I get are fascinating, and I'm always excited to kind of do a deep dive into someone's marketing.
Incredible. Well, thank you so much for sharing that knowledge with us. And we certainly would love to have you on another show, maybe just talk about one specific challenge that you have overcome as a business owner and you see a lot of people struggle with. That would be amazing.
Listen, anytime you'd like me to come back, all you have to do is ask. I'll be back.
Awesome. Thank you. There you have it, guys. Danielle Garofalo sharing her insights in social media, branding, and all things branding, really. And if you've got any questions, there will be a link around here that you can click to find out more information, or you can head straight to our LinkedIn group and you'll be able to get some help there and also get some assistance with virtual assistants. With that said, thank you guys for joining me, and I look forward to catching up again with you on another special episode. Daniela, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here.
Pleasure for me too. Thank you, Yeukai.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.